Computer. Hi, Rosemary Crawford. How are you?
Hi, Terry. How are you doing?
I am good. I am good. Before we go any further, I want to especially apologize for what happened yesterday. To let everyone know, we kept our word to on February the first, and we had technical difficulties. So I truly apologize for that, and I'm going to try to match our wonderful, wonderful conversation that we had yesterday.
Well,
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem. And I really did enjoy our conversation, and I'm enjoying talking to you today. So it's fine. But I hope we can. But it really was good
It
yesterday.
was. It was. So, with that, I want to just start off with, the very first question.
Sure.
Well, first, I want to tell you a little bit about Weston Power and why and how we got here. Weston Power, we had noticed, several years ago, we are going on our 8th year that we were coming out in the community for the presidential election. And when it was time for, we was coming out in droves, and it was time for local elections, it'd be 6 p.m. and it's like 21 people have showed up to vote. And, and we had to get the message out to our community that local elections affect our lives 365 days a year. So this is how we got here, to educate our community. We're a grassroots nonprofit organization with the spirit of giving back by education, unity, and support. So I'm so glad to have you and to help us understand this unique situation that we are in right now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Allegheny County, and help us all understand, where we are and how we can take advantage of this unique situation.
And I appreciate that. And I did mention to you before that I've heard nothing but good things about you and the
Thank you.
organization. And it's just so important. I know when I've been to the polls, I can just mirror what you said. I've seen it. I've been to the polls, and zero people were at the polls
Yeah.
when it's a non-presidential election. And the local elections affect your life more than any other election.
Mhm.
And especially the judges, judicial elections, the judges have make life or death
Yeah.
decisions on people. They can control families, whether or not you can keep your children,
Mhm.
whether or not you go to jail, or whether or not you get treatment, whether or not you'll be have a protection of abuse for you or against you. I mean, all of these things. If someone
Yeah.
owes you money, it's so many things. The judge makes the decision. They literally can change your life and affect you.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I like to tell people that a judge literally changes a home, changes a community,
Hmm.
changes a person. It just we are in such a unique situation right now with 9 seats available. So we're going to get into our questions, and so we can get to understand it. And I want to pick
Yeah.
your brain on, pick your
Oh,
brain
sure. Let's
here.
go.
So first, can you tell us who are you?
Sure. I'm Rosemary Crawford. I'm running for Court of Common Pleas, Allegheny County Judge. That's the 5th Judicial District. The judge terms are 10 years. And just to let you know that, me, why do I want to be judge? I want
Mhm.
to restore justice, and I want to add diversity on our courts. In terms of my background, I've been a lawyer for 31 years. I went to Georgetown Law School, and I've worked in some of the finest firms in Pittsburgh. I worked for the Department of Justice. I've done state court, federal court, appellate court. I'm admitted to the United States Supreme Court, and I've handled cases from employment law to product liability, personal injury. I've done some family work. Also, for 5 years, I served as conflict counsel representing juveniles who were in our system, and many other type of law in my 31 years. So I'm extremely qualified on that level. I'm also an award-winning attorney, done a lot of public service, mentoring children and young adults. Also, in terms of providing scholarships for people through organizations, I write for the last several years, I've written the Johnny Gamage essay question. He was a man that was killed by the police, a black man,
Mhm.
and driving innocent, just killed. I've done that with the Summit Against Racism. Also, in terms of scholarships, I'm in organizations that provide scholarships for our youth as well. So that's a little bit. And then I was part of the Neighborhood Legal Services Board, Pennsylvania Legal Services Board for a number of years. And then I volunteered for pro bono protection for abuse. So that's some of the public service, not all, but that's to give you a little background.
Yeah, yeah. And see, I'm glad because I pulled something out. I didn't know that you had wrote on Johnny Gamage. I did not know
I've done
that.
it for probably the last 5 years.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. We discussed that yesterday. Okay.
I do quite a bit of public service. In my day, Jesse Jackson, and when I went to Georgetown Law School, and that's in DC. So he did a voter registration drive. So I was part of that, and I actually got my little card table and the little chair and sat in front of my apartment building. And I was maybe 35 people, not like my girl Stacey Abrams, 800,000, but I did my little bit. So there's a lot more things I've done in the past over all these decades. Sometimes something will come up and I'll remember. But I definitely love being a part of that Summit Against Racism, being part of that committee and doing my part in terms of making sure we have questions that our young people can look at, and also money that they get. And some of that gets matched, so it's good.
Okay, thank you for that. My next question to you is, why are the Court of Common Pleas so important, and why should the community care?
Court of Common Pleas, as we said earlier, that those judges, that's the trial court. So that's the trial court. That's where you go. Like I said, if someone owes you money, when you're dealing with a divorce, custody of your children, CPS issues, juvenile, they make those decisions. If a child gets arrested, will that child get treatment or incarcerated? I mean, that's not supposed to be a criminal court, it's a family court, but there are issues there in terms of how the child will be treated. And we know in the past, there's at least one judge in Pennsylvania that was getting a kickback for institutionalizing children.
Yeah.
Also, whether or not you would go to jail if you're an adult. So there's many things. And it's so important because you need to know who your judges are, because we've had issues in the past of bias, blatant bias that's come out recently. And not only bias based on race or ethnicity, but also judges who make a decision, get called out on an appellate level, and then give the same result. So we've had some recent issues. And then we have some judges, because of how the process is a very political process, even though it's not supposed to be, but a lot of money is spent on these elections. Some of them have been lost their position due to ethics violations. So I think it's so important to look at these judges, look at people who, for me, I'm in it for I think the right reasons, and I have integrity, but is regardless of who it is you're looking at, knowing these judges make the decisions over your life. Yeah, and it's easy to be in that court system. It's very easy. To be caught up in that court system. Let me just tell you.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you said that. I really am, because, it is so imperative that we are understanding what position we are in right now. This has not happened since the early 70s. This many seats is open at this time. And we, like you said, it affects children. It's suing people. It's so many different layers of the judges that are, going up right now, and that we have the power to vote on these 9 seats. So I'm
sorry to interrupt you, but I want to interject. On a national level, our last presidential administration appointed approximately 300 judges.
Yeah. 0
Black appellate.
Yep.
And maybe 4% Black of the old 300. So maybe like less than 10. I'm gonna be approximate here. And you can
Mhm.
say you did more minorities, but I'm just talking the Black judges. Now let's look at Allegheny County. We have approximately 44 judges. 13 approximately of those are women. And of
Wow.
those, one Black woman. And then we have 3 elected Black judges. So of 44, and just keep in mind, 0 Black women have been elected judge this century in Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas.
Wow. Wow. And I'm
We're
so
this is
glad.
what 2021. So
Yeah.
Kim Clark, Judge Kim Clark,
Mhm.
is the only Black judge, and she's terrific,
Yeah.
Black female judge, and she was elected in the late 90s, I believe, 98 or
Yeah.
99. So I'm talking about this century elected on the Court of Common Pleas. I think we can do better than that. And I think looking at how the federal administration was, if it was that important not to have Black judges, there's a reason that we need to look at that, because statistically, Black women judges are fair and do a really good job.
Yeah. 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 And I'm glad you had mentioned that, because that was one of my questions of, how many women judges in Allegheny County, the Court of Common Pleas, and how many, is women of color, Black women. And so I'm so glad that you brought that up, and that you educated us on that, because that's very important. And that's something that we need to look at. And we need to have a razor eye on that, because it's something not right there. Like you said, over a century. So, yeah.
That's 20 years. That's a lot. And when everyone now, or a lot of people are calling for diversity or talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. Well, let's look at diversity on the court and demanding that. And I believe that people have started demanding it in our federal courts and seeing how it's important. Well,
Mhm.
demand it where you live, where it will affect you personally. It's
Wow.
important. And
Yeah.
that's a big reason why I'm running, why I'm really serious, why I'm fighting for this, because justice is elusive in Allegheny County. So I'm
Mhm.
out here putting myself on the line. I'm fighting for it. It's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it a lot of money,
It's a
and then
lot of money, yes.
yeah,
People
yeah,
spend typically in the last election $500,000 to $1 million for a local election.
yeah,
It's something that should not be bought, in my opinion. I think,
yeah.
I can't change the system in that regard, but I could say it should not be bought. But there are people who have won that have not spent that much money. And I've gotten more votes than people that spend 10 times more than me. So it's possible. We're going to do it this time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this, because now you did say, the term is 10 years.
Yes.
Now can you help us understand, because okay, so after the 10 years, can you let us know what happens after the 10 years?
So basically, there's retention. So it is a 10-year term, but honestly, it's almost a lifetime term,
Lifetime.
because there's a retention ballot. So everybody who is a judge, who has been elected, done their 10 years, they all go on the ballot, and it's called a retention. And you literally click one button for everybody. So you would have to deselect in order for them not to
Yeah.
win that. So most people are not going to do that. Most people don't even know who the judges are. Let's be honest. What you're doing, your group is doing, is educating people.
Yeah.
Most people do not know. They know who the judges are when they're in trouble, or we have a great leader like Kim Clark, Judge Kim Clark, who's
Yeah.
doing these things. But usually it's because of scandal, when you know who a judge is, or you may know some of the prominent juvenile court judges, because a lot of people go in and out of that system. But with that said, so it's almost a lifelong thing. And so if you get good judges, great. But if you don't, then you basically have a lifelong system. And this, like you pointed out, we're almost going to have 25% turnover.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a time where you can actually have an input on the judges, and you want to have some people that are representative of the community in terms of diversity. Wouldn't it be great, even if a juvenile had the misfortune to be in front of the judge, but at least have someone who looks like them or their mother? And so, and also to have more confidence in the court and make it more credible, so that people don't think that it's biased, because they
Yeah.
keep hearing about all the bias.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they
Mm-hmm.
think that is on the
Yeah.
news.
Yeah. And how powerful is that, that you know, the community literally has the opportunity to put in lifetime judges of who they feel that align with their values. You know what I mean? So this is extremely important, and I'm just glad that we're able to, you know, get some very good conversations here, and we have some very good conversations coming up. So this is some great education, and thank you so much again for that. Now, why? What is it that every community should want to know about a judge at the court of common pleas, and why?
I think it's important at least to know who the judges are, because the judges will be making decisions. Now, let's go to the fact that once a judge is elected, there's not going to be the ability to make choices about who your judge is unless the judge is biased or unfair. So it's important to at least know that, because you can request that the judge be recused if they are biased or unfair, if that's somebody that's known, a close relationship, not just seen them on the street, but a close relationship, or if you think they have a history of bias or a history of showing they're not fair, then that's something that can be raised. I mean, I do think that's important. Now, it's important knowing who the candidates are so that you have a choice in the election and you're fully informed. It's like buying a car. You wouldn't go buy, well, I might, because I don't know about cars, but the normal person would not go buy a car without doing a test drive, without at least seeing if there's a warranty. Is this a good car? Is this car going to be good for me and my family? Well, it would be nice for the judges to vote for people that are in your best interest, in the interest of the people, of the community, and not self-interest or political. So, and so that's why it's important to know who the candidates are. And the judges just to know, well, is this a fair judge? Does this person have a reputation for being biased? Because you can request that a judge be recused. That's not something that's done lightly. That's only if for certain reasons. But me personally, I will say that I am a quasi judicial officer now, preside over bankruptcy, thousands of them. And when I have a conflict of interest, I do recuse myself.
Okay, okay. Well,
And
thank you.
also, if somebody felt there was bias for whatever reason, even if I did not feel, if I felt I could be fair and I could stay on the case, I would not hold it against them. And I think it's really important for the judge to not be retaliatory and not have what they call the black robe syndrome, where once you get on that bench, hey, you can't tell me
Yeah,
anything. I'm the judge. No, you got to still be that judge who will listen. Because
yeah,
what did the one judge say? If you listen, you'll learn something. You have to listen.
yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Um, Now here's one that's close to my heart, you know,
Okay.
that because I have a friend, Blair, that had told me that you know, she's in her early 50s and she has never been called for jury duty. And you know, what part does the judge play to make sure that a person gets a jury of their peers?
And let me give a little bit of information on that.
Mhm.
So, the jury selection process is called voir dire, and the lawyers are the ones who question individuals who are called for jury duty, and they will ask them certain questions. But there are two type of ways they can strike a jury. One is preemptory, and the other one is for cause. So the trouble is where the preemptory cause come in, those strikes, and if they're racially related. Now, you don't have to say why you're striking somebody. You get a certain amount
Yeah.
of preemptory strikes. You don't have to say why. So because of that, the issue is they can, it could be for any reason. And it would have to be proven that it's racial, but it would be hard to prove. But that's where if somebody did say, hey, this is unfair, a judge should listen to that and assess it and make sure that that process is fair to to their ability. Um, and when it comes to these cases, it's unfortunate, but some lawyers have more experience and may, I don't want to say do a better job, but they may know more of how to appeal to the jury, and they might really, they spend a lot of money on analysis of
Mhm.
this process, and they do studies on demographics to get the type of jury they want, the ones that have the money. Okay.
Mhm.
It's a lot, it's a process. People know Dr. Phil did that for Oprah Winfrey when
Oh,
she
okay.
was sued by the meat industry. But yeah, so they spend a lot of time and money picking to say what the demographics are of a jury, and they can study and figure out who will be on their side. So the problem is when they strike for unfair reasons like race. It's very tough to get a jury of your peers in Allegheny County if you
Yeah.
are a minority, because it's a whole county, not the city, and the county does not have a large percentage of minorities. And then a lot of times in certain cases, they'll be stricken for on a preemptory strike. You don't have to prove cause. So, but anyway, the judge can make sure that process is at least ministered properly if someone raises it.
Okay. Okay.
And sometimes you could take judicial notice of certain things, but judges do have some limitations. But
Okay.
with respect to that, I mean, I'm not in the legislature. I'm not running for that. But if somebody was, that's something that should be discussed because
Yeah.
a change
Yeah.
could be made. That's the practice. But laws could be done. But I'm not able to talk politics or anything like that. But I'm
Yeah.
saying somebody could look into that.
Okay. Thank you. So let me write that down. Okay. All right. My next question to you is I wanna touch on the Pitt study and how the Pitt came up with the Pittsburgh is the worst place for Black people, predominantly Black women.
Mhm.
So how 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 does that tie into our courtrooms with our judges?
I think it does because of bias.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that people are intentionally trying to be biased, but there is implicit bias. There's a lot of people who do not have cultural competence that make decisions. They judge people by their hair or if they have a scarf on,
Yeah.
by their if they wear a hoodie. I actually again with cultural competence, I did work under the umbrella of the Center Against Racism when I was with the YWCA, and was an employment lawyer for about 10 years, and I'd have to teach different employment laws to corporations and things of that nature. Also, I did labor work, workers' comp, unemployment comp, a lot of things like that. But with that said, um, a lot of people just don't have cultural competence. They don't even know what it means. I get it. And they don't realize how biased they are. But in one training I participated in, they showed a picture of a Black man in a hoodie. And they were showing different pictures of different people. And what would you do if you saw this person? People were like, I run to the room, different room. I'm thinking, that's a nice looking guy. But it turned out that was a stockbroker who was just going to Starbucks.
Yeah.
But because he was a Black man in a hoodie, automatically he's a criminal. That is a type of implicit bias. That's an example. So when you have judges who are not culturally competent and they will take on the attributes of the community. Now, that study is saying it's bad for Black women, probably because looking at the community, there's institutional racism, bias that is putting Black women in that position. It doesn't just happen. So that can go on to the courts. So judges need to be aware. There needs to be training, understanding, and an admission and acknowledgement. I have in the past, when I have done some trainings or participated in trainings, I would get backlash from some of the participants who are privileged who said they did it and they resented the training. And that's an attitude I've seen. And it's unfortunate, but I have experienced that. And then it really was devastating. I was doing one training where one of the participants said, I don't want to lose my privilege. I enjoy being a white man and I enjoy that privilege. I don't want to lose it. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's changed in a year because of the BLM movement. I'm sorry to say that.
Hmm.
And also, I've dealt with a lot of people. I ran against a gentleman who was elected judge who treated me really dirty.
Yeah.
And he was, he got endorsed, he was elected, now he's no longer on a bench. But I'm like, if you can't treat a fellow attorney with respect and dignity, how are you going to do that in your courtroom? And it's just a reflection. That study It's just a reflection of where we are, the bias that there is, the disparities and the unfairness, and how it relates to the bench. As judges need to be aware of that and work hard to be fair and not judgmental. But when you're coming from a lack of cultural competence, some of those people don't know how to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad because I did a bias training with Pittsburgh City Police,
Okay.
and I failed horribly. Like they showed a picture, they showed a picture of a woman, a black woman, um, and it looked like she was screaming at the police officer, and they just showed like a little block, and then they asked, what do you see? And I was totally off. And because when they opened up the whole picture, I think she was telling him, asking him for his phone number or something. It was something way off of what the room came up with, and also the privilege, because I like to tell, my non-white, non-black associates and friends that, privilege is, you should not be ashamed of it,
I
but
agree with that. Yeah.
don't be ashamed of, but use it to grab my hand and pull me through the door that I can't get through. You know what I'm saying? Pull, don't be ashamed of it. That's something that, if I had it, I don't want to let it go either. But but I'm not going to leave nobody or feel or make someone else feel lesser than, you know.
And
So
yeah, and what I don't want is judges to make decisions based on privilege.
right,
I
right.
just saw on the news that the Viking rider is getting organic food. The judge ordered organic food
Yeah,
because
yeah,
his system. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the details and I don't want to prejudge, but there's a
yeah.
lot of people, poor minorities in jail, that are not getting organic food.
Yeah, yeah. I think I read that, but then I thought that he didn't get it. He wanted it. So yeah, but even that it hit the news that, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's very interesting. So,
yeah,
and I know he wasn't eating, so that might be why the judge did it. But I know, you know, doctors, I believe doctors said he starved to death in jail. I'm not sure,
yeah,
but that's a whole
yeah.
nother story.
Yes,
Uh,
that's a whole nother story. I'm gonna bring you back on. Now, let me ask you this: what impact can you bring to the?
okay.
Mhm.
I believe with my experience, so I have the credentials, the experience, with my public service, my integrity, and my cultural competence, I can be a fair and impartial judge. And so I would be that judge that looks to uh, healing the community. Can we rehabilitate? Let's look at food insecurity. Let's look at, is there housing insecurity? Is there trauma? Is there mental health? What is going on first? And is this something that we can rehabilitate rather than punish and put in jail? And I say that because why are we putting all these people in jail? All these good people are going to jail. And then we have to look at, again, statistics. Privileged individuals often are not arrested. And
Mhm.
then we have to look at the fact that non-privileged people are often arrested without due diligence, with zero due diligence, meaning the police have to do the basic and the prosecutor's office has to do the basics to make sure these charges are proper and they have all the information and they've contacted the parties. And they often arrest innocent people with zero due diligence. And then you're left with a record or plea bargain or something because you're afraid of being caught up in the system of getting a big charge. We need to be looking at restoration. We
Mm.
need to be looking at equal access.
Mhm.
Access, okay? And the things I've done with neighborhood legal services, public in Pennsylvania legal services, and the YWCA, I mean, yes, I was working on access, reduced fee lawyers, pro bono or free lawyers, or me volunteering for free services. That's more of an access. But we also need, when we get access, we need fairness. And then we also need to be restoring our community. There are people who've been in jail for years for literally nothing. They just got lost in the system and no one's checking on them. I saw a
Mm-hmm.
documentary on that in my church. I go to Mount Ararat Baptist Church. And they
Mm-hmm.
had a documentary on that. This young man, it made no sense. Why is this man in jail? He don't even know. No one knew just who he was. He got lost. So I just say that to say without going on a tangent that what I would be doing is looking to restoring justice, and with my background, my cultural competence training and understanding, and I think I could really be that fair person to treat people with dignity and respect and work on healing the community. I don't know that that's something that we really looked at in the county. I know a lot of people now are interested in that. I think we know that we don't just putting people in jail is not the answer, especially people who are good people. It's just not the answer. There's a better way to do it. I don't have all the answers, but I'm definitely willing to listen and work with groups, network. I work in a community now, and as a judge, there's certain things I won't be able to do, but I can still work in the community, network with various organizations, trying to figure out, well, what can we do better? What can we do better? And figure out ways to facilitate access to justice and fairness and helping our children.
Yeah.
And also our vulnerable. My mother had dementia, 2016, right before she passed away. And I can tell you, people that are supposed to love her mistreated her. And I had to come in and take over and figure it out because I trusted these people, her relatives. And I learned a lot from that. So I do really want to help our children, but also the most vulnerable, which include people with disabilities and the elderly, because they are abused more than you know. I never thought it would happen to my mom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I learned a lot from that. And I was able to take over and we would handle it. And her last days were fine. But if I hadn't, it would have been really problematic.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you had brought that up because what I'm glad you brought up that, whatever happens, you'll still be volunteering in the community.
Oh, yes.
Helping the community. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad.
And I'll be able to do more because I will know more, and then I will be able to implement more things as long as it's allowed. And I know Judge Kim Clark does that. So I know I will be able to do it. Yeah, she does that. She works with Gwen's Girls. I mean, through one organization, we do work with Gwen's Girls. We do presentations, mentoring, things of that nature, provide donations. So, I will still be doing those type of things. I don't know that they will allow me to write the Johnny Gammon scholarship anymore.
Yeah. Well, because I'm honest, honestly, every time I hear Judge Clark, I hear so much wonderful things about her. And
that's the example. That's a beautiful example. And I'm not going to compare myself to her, but I would just say that she's the type of judge that I look up as a role model.
Yeah. My mom's aide is great to come in. So if my dog bark, I'm gonna mute myself. Okay.
It's fine. Mine are barking too, to be honest.
Oh, see, I don't hear them.
Yeah, okay. They're barking. They're barking.
So you went into the fairness of, being fair in the court and the court system, regardless if they have on a suit, regardless if they have on a scarf, regardless of what they, what they walk into the courtroom with. So you spoke on that. And because my next question was, when someone comes in with a public defender, the way they're treated here with a public defender, and then when they're treated here with a Johnny Cochran or Effley Bailey type style lawyer, it seems that it's different treatment, from judges. So how can a judge level that out and make that as fair as what you were talking about?
Now, for me personally, I would not give any greater credence to just by appearance and the stature of the lawyer. What I will say, however, that if you have a lawyer that is more experienced, that knows the law better, and I'm not putting down the public defender's office because I've seen some very good public defenders.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, let's say in general, if you have a lawyer that's experienced, that's prepared, that has the case, knows how to, argue, that knows how to file motions to eliminate. They know motion consideration. They know they already have good, for the questions that go to the jury, like the law, the lawyers draft those and give them to the judge, and the judge picks which ones are more appropriate. So I could be fair in that selection to make sure the questions are fair that go to the jury in terms of what the law and the facts are. I mean, I can do that. But what I'm saying is, and I could take judicial notice of certain things that are allowed. But if Johnny Cochran comes to Pittsburgh, comes back to life, and comes to Pittsburgh and does his thing, the jury's going to be impressed. Mm-hmm. The jury's going to be impressed. So, but in terms of the judge, I don't have to be impressed. And as well, what I won't do is decide in favor of someone because I am impressed by that lawyer, or I like that lawyer, or do something where you see the lawyer and the judge are friends and they're deciding for them. I may have mentioned this when we spoke before, but I'm an arbitrator for the Better Business Bureau. I mean, I'm also an arbitrator and certified arbitrator mediator. So I had a gentleman who came in front of me, talked about how he knew he was not going to get justice. He was a Caucasian man, and he was just doing this. He was so disrespectful. I still decided in his favor because the law and the facts said that I should. Mm-hmm. I didn't hold it against him because he insulted me the whole hearing. It was disrespectful. Now, I do tell people I'm not going to sit there and let you disrespect me. So I do say, sir, follow procedure, this and that. But I'm saying he was very nasty. And there are people I really like, and I haven't been able to decide in their favor because the law and facts didn't go that way. So that's where I can say I will look at the law and the facts with compassion. Yeah. The law and the facts with compassion, understanding, and cultural competence. And also, I mentioned this yesterday, not today. I know how impactful judges can be because when I was in the first grade, before I went to the first grade, where I went to school, the schools were segregated. So my mother was a teacher. So a judge had ordered that district be integrated. And this was in the 70s. And my mother went and she told me, we're going, and this is good. And this is for us to do better. And she said that it was wrong to be segregated. We're all the same. So I learned from that experience the impact a judge can have. And also from that experience, I learned that we're all the same. My classmates would laugh and joke with me from the KKK meeting. They did KKK meetings at the JC building. And I had to hear this. And I knew they didn't really know what they were talking about. They were just listening to what their parents had said. But I have a history of understanding and knowing we're all the same. Everybody wants the same thing. They want their kids to do better than them. They want to be safe and have a good family. I mean, everybody wants the same thing, no matter what your race. Well, we just want to make sure that the judges dispense that equal. Yeah. And fairness, and not based on privilege. And that's what I believe I can do. And again, I've been something like a judge. I'm not a judge, but a quasi-judicial officer for almost 20 years. I treat everybody with dignity and respect. Now, if you come in and hostile, I will tell you have to follow decorum and respect the integrity of the process. But I still treat everyone with dignity and respect.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for that. Now you gave us a lot of jewels, a lot of nuggets today. Again, I'm sorry that yesterday I don't with the technical difficulties, but it was glad to get you back today. Now, before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to say, or how can someone get in touch with you if they have a question that they may have that I didn't ask? So is there anything that you would like to say before we wrap up, and how can someone get in touch with you?
Yeah, so first I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. This is an opportunity. I'm very, like I said, impressed with your organization and with you personally, the work you're doing out here, windmilling for the community. That's very important, and getting this good knowledge and information out there. Second, Rosemary Crawford for Judge. That is my website. You can look there and it'll give you links to a lot about me. If you want to talk to me personally, you can email me. My personal email is crawfordmcdonald@aol.com, crawfordmcdonald@aol.com. And we could set up a time to talk. You could DM me on Facebook, Rosemary Crawford. There's a lot of different ways. And then what we can do is figure out, if you're interested in helping out what we're trying to do, I could put you in with the right people. I'm a candidate, a judicial candidate. The canon of ethics don't allow us to ask for money or certain help. All we can do is say, and I do go by ethics. I do try to be ethical. So all we can do is say, I'm running, here's my qualifications, and here's information if you want to contact someone who's on my behalf. So definitely want to get that out. Right now, we're trying to get these petitions done. That'll be coming up in a couple weeks. So in the COVID era, we want to be safe, but we got to get it done. So that's going to be very interesting.
And see,
that's going to be very interesting.
Even wrapping up, you're sharing nuggets. So you cannot ask for money donations.
No, the judicial can, my committee can.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I can't go up to somebody and say, hey, support me, give me money. No, you can't do that. And I mean, yes, we have freedom of speech, but it's called the judicial canon of ethics. And if you're a judicial candidate, you got to research that and follow that.
Okay. Well, thank you.
And there's people that don't. There's people that do what they want to do. But again, I'm running on integrity and ethics. So what I don't want to do is violate those. And some people may think, oh, she errs on the side of not doing enough when it comes to that. But that is who I am. And one thing I'm not going to do is be something I'm not, just to impress people. So what I'm trying to do, this is me. I'm running for judge. I'm excited. We're getting ready to hopefully make history. And we'll see what happens.
Well, Rosemary Crawford, everybody, thank you so much. And again, I cannot apologize enough for what happened yesterday. I strongly believe that we had just as good a conversation as we had yesterday.
Good.
We got some couple more nuggets out. So, I want to thank you for that. And hopefully we can invite you back and
I'll come back.
Okay.
I want to talk about coalition building. Has nothing to do about running for judge, but I want to talk about that and some other things I'd be very interested in talking about. I love history and philosophy, so I'm very happy to talk about anything you want to talk about. Okay. As long as it's not prohibited by ethics.
Okay. Okay, so we definitely don't want that. Well, we cannot thank you enough. Again, thank you, and you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye.